Bless God. Good. Well, we're excited to be here tonight. We are going to get rolling. We have some folks joining us tonight on Facebook Live. So, hey. And we're going to start with some prayer. Well, we just thank you for your presence. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for your goodness, that you are always willing and able to speak to us. We open our hearts for wisdom, for revelation, for guidance, Lord, and just teach us new things tonight, Lord, that we didn't know before. We give you glory, we give you honor for your faithfulness. We pray that each person that you want to be here tonight, that you will bring them from the east to west, to north to south, bring them safely and securely. So, Lord, they will learn the things they need to learn. And everyone who comes tonight, Lord, whatever they need, pray that they will find it here. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So, just want to welcome you to tonight's workshop, Fixing Your Credit, Improving Your Credit. We wanted improving instead of fixing, because, fixing sounds like it's broken. Improving. It works for everybody. So it doesn't matter what state your credit is in. So I think the first thing I want to do is introduce myself. I am Donnell Duncan, and we have been doing Decatur Community Workshops for several years, and we've been through all different types of topics. We recently have focused the last couple quarters on finances and really honing in on finances. I released my latest book in January, The Fish with the Coin in Its Mouth, on God's game plan for your finances. And from there, we just decided, let's just start teaching some fundamentals on finances. And we've gone through a season where we did fish. There's a saying that says, if you give a man a fish, feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And God spoke to us and said, well, teach people how to fish then. And when he said fish, I knew it meant something. My father is a pastor and an author, and he is the king of acronyms. No word is ever just a word. It's always a combination. So I was like, I could ask him and he'll tell me, or I could sit before the Lord and let the Lord give me my own original one. So here's what he told me. He said, fish is this. F is free cash flow. He said, you get your cash flow right. Use that business terminology in your personal finances, and all of a sudden you understand the concept of making sure that at the end, everything that goes out is more than is less than what's coming in, so that you have surplus. And then I is investing. You gotta learn how to invest your money. That's a big differentiator between haves and have-nots in this culture. People who know how to invest can make money work for them, while everybody else is working for their money. S is savings. Yeah, I know how to save. One of the challenges we have when we're not accustomed to having money is it feels weird to have extra money. It's like, wow, I got extra 5,000 in the bank. I don't know what to do. It feels funny. I need to spend this quick. I need to do something with it, because it's burning a hole in my bank account. It's like having too much money in your pocket. You're like, this is too heavy. I got to spend it. You got to learn to save. And then H is home ownership. We went through a session here talking about home ownership, and we also in the book focused on home ownership and explained that the net worth of people who own their own homes in this country compared to people who rent is almost 100 times. 100 times average. The renters were like 2,000 something, and then the homeowners were 200. And we were like, just that alone, there were so many other differentiators, but just those who own homes versus those who did not, that alone set the stage for a very big wealth gap. And we talked about a couple different things, and then we decided, in this culture, credit, in this country, credit drives so much that we couldn't ignore it. We can talk as much as we can about cash and mastering cash, mastering investing, mastering your spending and all those different aspects of financial management. But credit is such a big factor in personal finances. No, we're not just talking business, just in personal finances in this country, that we decided, you know what, let's take some time to focus on credit. And that's why we got to tonight. But before I get into anything, I'm going to ask my lovely wife, Pastor Angel Duncan, to come greet you. Why don't you do that? Give her a round of applause.
Well, greetings. Pastor Duncan told me to say hi. Well, thank you guys. Oh, okay. He likes me on the mic. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Improving Your Credit Workshop, Decatur Community Workshop series. So glad that you came out, and so glad that you joined us on Facebook. We believe that you're going to get a lot out of tonight. I really appreciate my husband as a visionary, that he really cares about the community. He really cares about giving workshops out that are free and that they can actually benefit people who actually have needs. So our job, or one of our calls, if you may hear at the Body Church, is to provide information that's helpful to people. And, the hope is that they would apply it. And so this is just one of the many that we've done, and one of the many that are coming. And I'm really excited about tonight. So, again, I just want to thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. And my prayer is that you get what you came for. God bless you and have a wonderful night.
Right, give us some glory for Pastor Angel. Thank you. All right, so we are going to have a series of videos and some conversation, and we're going to get into a lot of information tonight. So hopefully you came with a pen and paper, lots of paper, because the information is going to come. And once we get started, it's going to be fast and furious. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin.
Why do you need to understand what a FICO score is and how it's used? Because it's the credit score most commonly used by U.S. lenders. Every day, thousands of lenders use it to more accurately understand your credit risk and make more well-informed credit granting decisions. In a nutshell, the FICO score is a number that predicts how likely you are to pay back a loan or other credit obligations in a timely fashion. The FICO scores are calculated from the data in your credit reports housed at the three main credit bureaus. The scores consider information about your payment history, use of available credit, plus other factors. Most of us have FICO scores for each of our credit reports. Of course, if you don't have any recently reported credit history, you won't have a FICO score. FICO scores are dynamic and can change up or down if and when your data at the credit bureaus changes. And they're calculated in real time, so they're current as of the time you or a lender requests them. FICO scores generally range from 300 to 850. The higher the score, the lower the risk for the lender. Ultimately, your FICO scores are in your hands because it's based on your credit habits as captured in your credit report. Your FICO scores do not determine whether you're approved for credit or what interest rate is assigned. That's up to the lender. But it does help the lender make that credit granting decision. So why do FICO scores matter to you? First, it makes the lending process faster and more fair. It provides you with more credit choices at competitive rates, and you'll get faster answers from lenders since the scores streamline the application process. And it applies the same set of standards to all borrowers. Finally, as you prepare to apply for a loan and view your own FICO scores, you can see what a lender sees. Your credit history all rolled up in a 3-digit number that predicts your likelihood to pay your bills on time.
All right, good. Let's turn to that switch there for me. Very good. So we're going to start off with some basics on understanding credit scores. So it's funny when you keep hearing FICO score, FICO, etc. And I always wondered, why that mattered. So there's an organization called Fair Isaac Corporation that created the concept of a credit score. There are other credit scores, but the Fair Isaac Corporation's credit score is the most recognized and respected credit score that's recognized right now. And the reason why they came up with the whole concept of a credit score is to standardize the way you judge people people's ability to pay back when you lend them money. You know, especially in this country, there's a lot of subjective decisions that have been made over the years concerning business and finances, etc. And the Fair Isaac Corporation came up with a way to somehow make this an objective process where everybody gets judged the same way. And as a result, when your credit score comes up, it is what it is. It is not impacted by your personality or your race or your family history or anything. And it's one of the reasons why it's such a respected way of doing business and making decisions when it comes to credit. So let's go ahead and jump into some introductory information. So what is credit scoring? So according to the Federal Trade Commission, credit scoring is a system creditors use to help determine whether to give you credit. It also may be used to help decide the terms you are offered or the rate you will pay for the loan. So when somebody says a credit score, it is very focused on, am I going to give you credit based on this score? It's a number. Numbers don't lie. And if I am going to give you credit, what kind of terms am I going to give you? So it's objective. And how many people know, especially in this country, it's good to have something objective when it comes to lending people money. Everybody got that? So the Federal Trade Commission gave us a very general definition of credit scoring. So most importantly, within the realm of credit scoring, there's the FICO score, very specific type of credit score. So there are others, but the FICO score is very specific. It's the most widely used credit score, created by the Fair Isaac Corporation. That's where you get FICO from. And one of the most important things you want to learn is that someone's FICO score is based solely on the information in the Consumer Credit Report at the credit reporting agencies. In other words, unless it's in the credit report, there's no way the FICO score pays attention to it. Everybody gets that? They only care about what's in the credit report. Let's keep digging into this. So let's look at what's a good FICO score. So we have here a chart that helps you to understand FICO scores. We have an exceptional FICO score, 800 to 850. That's about 20% of Americans. Then you have a very good FICO score. When somebody has one that's between 740 and 799, that's about 25% of Americans. Then you have a good FICO score, which is between 670 and 739. That's about 21%. Then you have a fair FICO score, which I love the scoring. Everybody's a winner. 18%, between 580 and 669. And then you have a poor, very poor FICO score, which is about 16% of Americans, between 300 and 579. So as you can see, you know, we have the everybody's a winner approach here. Everybody outside of 300 to 579 is somewhere between fair and exceptional. But in reality, unless you have a good credit score, it doesn't matter, because you're just not having a good credit score. And that's why they say 66% of Americans have a good FICO score or better. And Experian helped us with that information. So here is just a big picture understanding of how this affects your money. So if your credit score is between 300 and 579 and it's a very poor rating, it means you will always have to pay a fee or a deposit. And anybody with a rating like that may not be approved at all for credit. So if they choose to approve you, they're like, well, you got to put money down because they just don't trust you. 580 to 669, that's who you call a subprime borrower. Anybody remember the word subprime? Every time you think about when the economy crashed, the word subprime comes to your mind. Subprime mortgages, that's basically people between 580 and 669 brought down the economy. No, they didn't bring it down. It's the people who sold them the mortgages who brought down the economy. Because it's the fault of the people who gave them the loan. But hey, that's a different conversation for a different workshop. 670 to 739, a good FICO score. About 8% of the applicants in this range are likely to become seriously delinquent in the future. So in other words, they're using the score to predict the future. Will you give me back my money in the future? Let me look at this number. 740 to 799, very good. People with this range, they tend to receive better than average rates from lenders. And then, of course, there's the 800 to 850, exceptional. Applicants with scores in this range are at the top of the list for the best rates from lenders. Amazingly, you want to know one of the signs that your credit score is going up? You start getting a bunch of letters. Hey, you want this loan? Hey, you want that loan? People want to give you money as your score starts going up. Instead of you looking and running down people to give you money, people run you down. They go pull your score themselves and send you stuff. Hey, you want a loan? Hey, you want something? They just want to give you money because they know you'll pay them back. And their business is to make money from you with the interest. You see what I'm saying? So that's just a sign. Anytime you see that, that might be a good time to say, hey, let me go check my credit score. Maybe I'm going up because folks actually want to give me money. That's good. So what goes into a FICO score? And right now we showed another video. What goes into a FICO score? So we're going to talk in detail about what goes into a FICO score. So I'm going to ask a question. So we have let's get the cordless mic. Hold on. Yellow. Yeah, I'm on. So I'm going to ask a couple people to tell me what they think goes into a FICO score. Who knows what goes into a FICO score? Name something. Anybody? Go. I'll let you go first. Say your name and then say something that goes into a FICO score and then pass it on to the next person.
Elder Tanasha. Mm-hmm. Something that goes into a FICO score, I believe, would be how many times you've been hit hard. Like,
Okay.
hard checks.
Okay. Hard checks on your credit. Mm-hmm. Okay. Say your name and if you know something that goes into a FICO score.
Deacon Jason, I think what goes into a FICO score is probably a debt ratio.
Debt ratio. Okay. Anybody else wants to answer that up front? Say your name and say what you think goes into a FICO score.
My name is Dwayne. Length of credit history.
Length of credit history. Okay. Good. Anybody else? What goes into a FICO score?
My name is Andre, and I think your credit history, like the things that you've purchased and if you've been able to pay it off.
Okay. Things you purchase and if you're able to pay it off. All right, good. Give yourselves a round of applause. Those were some good answers. Let us watch this quick video. Enjoy.
Consider this. If you were lending your own money to a friend, you'd want to make sure you'll get paid back. You'd probably wonder, have they paid their past debts on time? How much debt do they already have? And who else are they approaching for the loan? FICO scores help lenders answer these same questions every day, but through a mathematical formula that makes the lending decisions faster, safer, and more fair. So, it's really important you understand how your credit activities and behaviors are considered when calculating FICO scores. FICO scores focus on 5 key predictive categories: your payment history, how much you owe, how long you've had credit, if you've recently sought new credit, and the types of credit you've used. Clearly, your payment history and level of debt substantially drive your FICO scores. Have you missed payments? If so, how often, how recently, and how late were they? Have you had debts turned over to a collection agency? Do you have foreclosures, or have you filed for bankruptcy? The more recent, frequent, and severe the reported negative items are, the bigger the impact on your scores. Next, there's the debt you're already carrying. Are your credit cards nearly maxed out? How many accounts with balances do you have? How much of your available credit is being used? If you're overextended, you're more likely to miss future payments. Then there's how long you've had established credit, from your oldest to your newest account, and an average age of all your accounts. FICO scores also consider how often you've actively applied for credit in the past year. Rate shopping is accommodated for, and promotional, insurance, and employment inquiries don't count against you. Whenever you apply for credit, there's a good chance your lender is using FICO scores to help make that approval decision. So it's important that you understand your FICO scores because it could help you know whether you qualify for low rates on your next loan. Know your FICO scores. Understand what goes into your scores.
All right, so we are going to talk about what goes into a FICO score. Good, good. You're going to learn some basics tonight. It's very important because if you understand exactly what goes into the FICO score, you will begin to understand how you can manipulate it and improve it by focusing your attention. So we understand what a FICO score is, and we understand it's the most important and the most widely used credit score type. So let's talk a little bit here. So look at this chart. 35% of a FICO score is your payment history, what you've been charged, and if you have a loan, how your payment's been looking. So have you been paying people their money, etc., etc., etc. We could get into the details of that. After that, 30% is the amount owed. So how much money do you actually owe? That actually goes into your score. So it matters. A man who owes $1,000 versus a man who owes $100,000. It's a difference. Then 15% of your score. Now pay attention to the percentage because that's going to impact the decisions you make and how effective those decisions are in affecting your score. 15% is the length of credit history. So how long do you have that credit? And then 10% is new credit. That means, did you just open something? Did you just get a loan? Did you just get a new credit card, etc.? And then 10% is credit mix. What types of credit do you have? Do you take all of your money out of just one source of credit, or do you have different sources of your credit? Is it spread around? So remember that. So let's start with the most important impactor on your credit score. It's payment history. Somebody say payment history. People care about your history. They want to know what you've done. The first thing any lender wants to know is whether you've paid past credit accounts on time. This helps a lender figure out the amount of risk it will take on when extending credit. This is one of the most important factors in a FICO score. So the number one priority for you is your payment history because that's the number one priority for lenders. Everybody understands that? 35% of the score is payment history. So here are the account types that they consider for payment history. Credit cards. You got a Visa, a MasterCard, American Express, Discover. They're looking at your payment history on your credit cards. Retail accounts. I used to have a Macy's credit card one time because I was like, man, I could get what? An extra 20% off? Yeah, you remember those days? Yeah. Do people still do that? They still do it, right? They still give what? Credit cards? Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, they do it.
They still do it.
I went there today and the lady said, do you want to use your Macy's card? I'm like, no, I don't have one. I don't want one.
Yeah. They're still trying to offer you a card, right? Retail accounts. They actually separate the cards from retail accounts from credit cards. They don't count them the same. Credit from stores where you shop, like department store credit cards, they are not in the same category as regular credit cards, even though they are usually carried by one of the major credit card companies. They're processed through one of the major credit card companies. Amazingly, they separate it. Payment history. Installment loans. Loans where you make regular payments like a car loan. Something where it's a fixed amount you borrowed and then you make a fixed regular payment every month on that loan. Everybody get that? Then there's the finance company accounts, mortgage loans. That's an easy one. Everybody knows what that is. But then there's negative factors that stay on your payment history if you do something wrong. And this is extremely important. Bankruptcies. They stay on your credit history 7 to 10 years, depending on the type. 7 to 10 years, depending on the type. Lawsuits if you lose one. If you win, it doesn't matter. If you lose, who would have thought? You lose a lawsuit. Bam. Because, you always think about that. I always be like, man, when somebody lose a lawsuit, like, do you, like, go in your bank account and find the check to write that? How do you write a check when you lose a lawsuit? Because those lawsuits don't be for $20, right? So I always be like, man, how did they do it? That thing hits your credit immediately. You do not want to lose a lawsuit. That's all. You don't want to be in a lawsuit? Let's start with that. And then you don't have to lose it. Wage attachments, of course. If you owe somebody something and they get your wage garnished, it goes straight to your credit report. Everybody understand that? Now, when we talk about late or missed payments, what are they really looking for in terms of delinquencies? If they're saying somebody's delinquent, what are they looking for? First, they care about how late. So you could be a day late. You see, they say on $1 short. You can be a month late, months late. It matters. How late matters. Because some people are like, well, I'm already late, it doesn't matter. No. It's not I'm already late, it doesn't matter. Late is late. No. Now when it comes to your credit report, late is not late. There's late and then there's this is too late. How much was owed? The amount matters. People care how much money. How recently they occurred. Now I want you to remember this, put this in your brain. How recently they occurred. Because the further you are away from the situation, the less of an impact it has on your credit. So you are trying to get away from the bad news over time. Because with time doesn't heal everything, but it heals bad things on your credit report. So, be like, man, this is going to mess you up for the rest of your life. Not really, but it's going to mess you up right now and it's going to mess you up for a little while. But not for the rest of your life. You understand that? And then how many there are. Well, it's already late. It doesn't matter. Let me go get late on the other one too. Hey, it doesn't matter. I'm already late on one. No. You don't just count it like that. Very, very important. Consider it. How late? How much of them late? How much money it actually is? And when did it happen? Now, they did it all mathematically. Again, the point of the credit score is so that there is a way to objectively evaluate everybody equally. So you can't say, well, I can't believe that. They're judging me. They're not judging you. Everybody's being judged by the same criteria. They don't know you. You see what I'm saying? It's a number. Again, what's in a FICO score? We talked about payment history. Let's talk about amounts owed. Amounts owed. 30% of your FICO score is amounts owed. So remember, payment history is the number one thing they look for. The next thing is how much. The amounts owed on all accounts. That's the first thing. So overall, how much money do you owe? Overall. So I have 5 loans, I have 6 loans. What's that total number? Loans. All of them together. The next is the amount owed on different types of accounts. So depending on the type of account, how much you owe on that account matters differently. Then this is something that Deacon Jason mentioned. Your credit utilization ratio. I'm going to talk about that some more. On revolving accounts. So if you have an account that's like a credit card where you use it, you pay it, you use it, you pay it. Your credit utilization ratio, that's going to be your friend. If you understand how that works, that will be your friend. Credit, somebody say credit, utilization ratio. That will be your friend. And then how many accounts have balances? Everybody knows what a balance is? A balance is how much you owe. All right? So how many accounts do you owe something on? Then, how much of the total credit line is being used? How much of it is being used? And other revolving credit accounts. How much of the installment loan amounts is still owed compared with the original loan amount? So if I borrowed $30,000, the closer I get to paying it off, the better it looks on my credit report. So the further away I go from the day when I actually originated the loan, the better I look. And they care about that. How much is left compared to the original amount. Everybody gets that? So it does matter. You're paying it down does matter because paying it down actually gives you a better score. Everybody gets that? So we're going to focus on credit utilization ratio. Somebody say credit utilization ratio. And this is very important because it is something that you could actually manipulate if you need to. It's not automatic. If you understand how it works, there are things you can do to manipulate this. And it's 30% of your score. So using a high percentage of your available credit means you're close to maxing out your credit cards, which can have a negative impact on your FICO scores. On the other hand, using a low percentage of your available credit can have a positive impact. What do I mean? If I have a credit card that has a limit of $6,000 and every month I use $5,500, it negatively impacts my credit score because they are looking at how much am I using versus how much is available. So credit cards is a special category. For some reason, I guess it's the culture. Credit cards are in a category of its own. Revolving accounts are in a category of their own because those things you could control. It's every month. You know, if you take a loan for $100,000, it is. And you got to pay that over 20 years, it is. But nobody knows what that credit card is going to look like each month until you spend. So that's why they have special conditions just for credit cards. Everybody gets that? What's in a FICO score? Your payment history, your amounts owed, your length of credit history. We're going to talk about this. 15% of your score has to do with how long your credit accounts have been open. This is very important. This is something else that if you understand how this works, it helps you to make good decisions, including the age of your oldest account, the age of your newest account, and an average age of all your accounts. The age of your oldest account, the age of your newest account, and an average age of all of your accounts. So the length of credit history is directly impacted by how long you've been using credit and how recently it's been since you opened your newest credit. Everybody gets that? 15% of the score. Now, this does not impact your score as much as paying your bills on time or credit utilization ratio, amount you owe. Everybody gets that? But it does have an impact, 15%. Then, how long specific credit accounts have been open and how long it has been since the account has been used. So all these things are going into the score. Very complicated formula, but if you understand the breakdown, it'll tell you. And one of the things I decided was, there's so much information and so many sources all over the place. But the best place to get the information, Fair Isaac Corporation, who created it. They made it. Everybody else uses it, but they made it. So they understand it inside and out. Somebody smart sat down in there and said, you know what? I got an idea of how we can evaluate people's credit worthiness. And it's objective. You just have to understand it. Everybody gets that? So close an old credit card account. You may be tempted to shut down that credit card that you just paid off after years of making payments. Before you do, take a moment to consider what impact closing that account may have on your length of credit history. It's amazing. You know what it's like. You got that credit card that's been there and you've been working on that account. Man, you drive Uber, you had yard sales, you do all kind of stuff to pay off that card. And you couldn't wait for the day you paid off so you can cut that card up and close the account. And you thought when you closed the account, your credit score is going to go up, right? And then it went down. And like, what just happened? Well, if that was an old account In fact, if that was your oldest account, the age of your credit just went up dramatically if you close that account. Amazingly. Now, if I knew this back in the day, I had an account that was really old. I was like, man, I don't even use this thing. Let me just chop this up. I would have kept it. I'm going to show you some things. Let's keep going. What's in a FICO score? There's new credit and credit mix. Let's talk about credit mix. FICO scores will consider your mix of credit cards, retail accounts, installment loans, finance company accounts, and mortgage loans. So, you can finance a car, you can finance, these days you can finance everything. You could rent your TV. You can rent your couch. Whatever you rent. That's a mix. So they look at, what's the mix of accounts that you have. So having credit cards and installment loans with a good credit history will raise your FICO scores. So if you have a good mix and the history is good, it actually raises your FICO score. Amazingly, people with no credit cards tend to be viewed as a higher risk than people who have managed credit cards responsibly. So the reason why it works negatively when you don't have much credit is because you don't have much history to prove whether or not you would be good at taking care of a loan. And that's the unfortunate thing about that. It's like, it's a good thing not to use credit as long as you don't plan to use it in the future. But if you plan to use it in the future, they're going to be like, so let's see your credit history. Because nobody can predict the future. So they use the past to help them predict the future. So if you don't have any past, it actually dings your score. So, it's kind of counterintuitive. You're like, man, why would they do that? Well, it makes sense and it also doesn't make sense. It makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because what facts are they going to use? Your word? It's like, no, I got you. No, you ain't got me. I need to see a score. I don't know you. What goes into a score? New credit, 10%. When you shop for credit, inquiries remain on your credit report for 2 years. Somebody say 2 years. Although, your FICO scores only consider inquiries from the last 12 months. That's very important. So for 2 years, you're going to see a hard inquiry on your account. So I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to buy a house. And they say, well, we have to run your credit and they have to give them permission. And they want it in writing because it impacts your credit score. So they want to make sure you know that they're going to run it. And if they do a hard hit, it's going to negatively impact your score. However, as long as 12 months have passed, even though you'll still see it on your report, it's not impacting your score anymore. Everybody gets that? 2 years is going to be on there. But the first year is going to impact your score. Everybody gets it? So research shows that opening several new credit accounts in a short period of time represents greater risk, especially for people who don't have a long credit history. So if somebody goes to check your credit report and they see you just got like a bunch of credit cards all in a short period of time, they start asking questions. They're like, I don't know about him. I don't know about her. What's with all the sudden loans? That's kind of strange. Yeah. It negatively impacts your credit score. Amazing. So here's the thing. Shopping for new credit can equate with higher risk. But most credit scores are not affected by multiple inquiries from auto or mortgage loan lenders within a short period of time. Typically, these are treated as a single inquiry and will have little impact on the credit score. In other words, they understand if you're going to buy a car or you're going to buy a house, you're going to check multiple places. So if you do it all within a short period of time, it will count as one. So I'm shopping for homes and I go, I look at a house, I talk to mortgage companies, they check my credit, and you're doing it within a general period of time, then it will count as one inquiry. If I'm buying a car, I'm going for a car, that's why you want to knock it all out in a short space of time. Instead of, I do a couple today, and then next month I do a couple, and then it's kind of over a long year. That counts as different hits on your account. So you have to decide, car shopping time. And you get out there, and you just go one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. And they will consider it together. So that's one way you can get around it. Because who wants to just go one place and just make a decision? Nobody does that. What's in a FICO score? All right, let's talk about managing your FICO score. Anybody learn anything? All right, we're going to get deep now. So, as we get that... Oh, it's ready? That's quick. Okay. Yeah. As we get that one prepared... You can turn the light back on. As we get that one prepared... We ready? All right, yeah. Awesome. So, let's start that from scratch. I'm going to do with managing your FICO score.
Did you? It's estimated that over 40% of US consumers have FICO scores of 740 or greater. That's a lot of people who likely have access to more credit options and at better rates. The good news is having access to more affordable credit is an achievable goal for anyone. However, achieving one's financial health can take both time and perseverance, and a longer-term focus. Start by accessing and evaluating your FICO scores. They'll help you understand how lenders evaluate your credit risk. Because the credit report is the foundation of your FICO scores, make sure the reported data is accurate. If you see errors, follow the dispute instructions to get those errors resolved. Then educate yourself about credit score dynamics. Paying bills on time has the greatest impact on a FICO score. If necessary, set up automatic alerts as payment reminders. Missed payments, especially recently missed payments, can substantially impact a FICO score, so it's important to get and stay current. Keep credit card balances well below credit limits. Pay off debt, don't just move it around. When shopping for a home, auto, or student loan, do it over a short period so the inquiries get treated as a single search for credit. This tactic is often known as rate shopping. And avoid short-term gimmicks, such as closing unused accounts or opening new ones just to increase available credit. These tactics may actually have the opposite effect of what was intended. In other words, only apply for new credit accounts when needed. Then continue to check your FICO scores over time to see how your financial decisions impact your scores. Learn from the information you'll receive explaining the top reasons impacting your FICO scores, and change your behaviors accordingly. And finally, keep checking your progress. FICO scores are dynamic and change as the underlying bureau data changes. The bottom line is this: understanding your FICO scores over time and adjusting your financial behavior is a vital part of your financial health and can help you get the credit you want at more favorable rates.
All right, good. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of things you can do to actually improve your FICO score. So now that you understand how it works, what you do is going to be directly related to what affects your credit score. And that's really important because obviously we know common sense things that you can do to improve your score. But what matters is what gives you the best bang for your buck, so that when you're making those decisions and you're making those moves, what gives you the most effect on the actual score. Very, very important. So let's talk about that. The first thing you want to always do when you want to improve your credit is to fix errors. That's the first thing you want to do. The only person who cares if your credit report's right is you. Not the bank, not the credit card company, not the person who put the lien on your house. Nobody else cares. You're the one who cares that your credit report's right. And if someone else made a clerical error on entering or reading your name or something, they could actually take your information and it not apply to your credit correctly. So if you do a handwritten application, somebody could actually enter the information in your handwritten application wrong, and it didn't end up where it needs to be. And that's pretty important. So you might be thinking, man, I'm paying my bills on time. I'm taking care of business, man. My score's probably skyrocketed. And your name got 2 N's and they put 1. And that is not, it's not going in the right person's situation. And it's not good. Now, of course, bad news. You're happy. But good news, you're not. Another common error. Loan or credit card payments could have inadvertently been applied to the wrong account. So you're putting money in and they report it wrongly. And there's no way for you to know unless you're looking at the actual report to see, hey, I've been paying my bills on time. Let me make a check at this to make sure that it shows on-time payments. Everybody gets that? Another mistake. Sometimes you can have something reported more than once, which is strange. Because sometimes you look at your account, you're like, man, I see the same thing twice. Strange. It can happen where they could report it more than once. And they make it appear like you have more than the actual number of open lines of credit. You know you only have 4 accounts, but there's like 6 on your credit report. And you're like, where's the rest coming from? Some of the stuff's double. And these are common errors. The things that happen that you want to look out for. Just in case. Then if you close a credit account, you want to make sure that your report does reflect that it was closed by the grantor. Making it appear that the creditor closed the account and not you. So you want to make sure, hey, I paid this thing off. You closed it. You want it to be officially closed. Cool. Then if you're divorced, you want to make sure that your former spouse's debts are not reflected on your report. And that's a big one that they've said. It's like sometimes you think you moved on and you're like, oh my goodness, you go check your credit report and there's other bad loans and issues from somebody else that's no longer in your life. You always want to go and check your credit report. Everybody understands that? You do not assume. In the same way, if you have older bad debts that you took care of, make sure they have been removed. 7 years after a bad decision, after a bad financial situation, it needs to be gone. And if you check your credit report, the origination of the issue, the date's on there. So even if you don't remember, you keep checking the report and you're like, man, how long has it been since this? All the dates are there. When the loan started, when the problem started, when the problem ended. And it starts from the end of the problem. So whatever situation is, as soon as it ended, 7 years from that, it needs to be off your report. Like it never happened. Everybody gets that? So you want to make sure you go and look. Because, you may have something happen and you're like, let me go find out if this thing off my report yet. Another thing. Sometimes, there may be mysterious accounts that you can't remember opening. Or bad debts that could be on there that you didn't put. There's identity thieves out there. Thank God for credit card companies giving you notifications, so at least you know somebody else using a credit card. But outside of credit card companies, if somebody figured out another type of credit to open, everybody doesn't give notifications, so you don't know if somebody already working something through, a store credit card or something that doesn't give you indications. I'm happy American Express and Discover say something, because several times I've gotten an email or a call or I check my account and I see, man, I am simultaneously using this card here and it's being simultaneously used in Florida. I'm like, what is going on? And the thing about it, when people steal your information, they use it fast. So they don't just use it once and then use it again later like you would use it. They use it one after the other, after the other, after the other, because they do it as much as they can, knowing that at some point you're going to freeze it or close it. So once you see the first one, it's going to come rapid fire. And I've seen that. I mean, I'm watching the person use it. It's like, I see the next purchase. I see the next purchase. I was like, God, hey. You know, by the time you call the credit card company, they done 3-4 stores in. I mean, they were buying liquor and all kind of thing. I was like, I wasn't there. So the first thing you want to do is find errors and dispute them. Annualcreditreport.com. I went this morning and downloaded all my latest credit reports. This morning I went and downloaded all 3. It's nice and quick. They've made it very, very efficient. I remember back in the day when we were trying to get credit reports, it was stress until they created annualcreditreport.com. Every year, free of charge, get a credit report from all 3 agencies. It took me, I would say, like 5 minutes to get through the process. But each credit company will ask you for additional proof. So they'll ask you questions like, which one of these phone numbers was yours in the last 10 years? In 2017, you opened a special account from such and such and such. Which bank was it with? Like, they will ask you questions to prove that it's not a scammer. So make sure you know your own business, right? It helps. And then dispute errors with 2 people. With the people who put the bad information and with the credit card company. So you have to go from both sides. So if Macy's has a strange charge on my credit report, you don't just go to Macy's. Go to Macy's and go to the credit card company. And these days on annualcreditreport.com, right there on the screen, you can make a dispute to the credit card company. And you can make a dispute to the reporting agency. And of course, in your credit card statement, you can make a dispute to the credit card company. Or to anybody, actually. You go in there and you see something looking funny, dispute immediately. Everybody gets that? Yeah, dispute with both. Then, let's talk about how long for bad news. Let's get into specifics. How long do bad news stay on your account? Delinquencies remain for 7 years. As in, you're supposed to pay and you didn't pay, 7 years of that. They're going to keep a record. Public record items, which are like bankruptcies, it could remain for 10 years. Somebody say 10 years. 10 years. And then, of course, we talked about inquiries. Hard inquiries remain for 2 years. They only hit your score for 1, but they stay on there for 2 years, so they can see it. So, it sounds like, just file for bankruptcy, that's all. You wouldn't have to pay anybody. True. You might be able to get away. They might liquidate a little something, but you might not have to pay. But it's going to be on your report for a decade. And the next time you go to ask for a loan, folks are going to be like, no. Not interested. Everybody gets that? So, yes, it sounds like a really good way out, but as you know, nothing's really free. It sounds like a great system. I'm just going to go file Chapter 13. I'm just going to, yes. I mean, the debts are too much and you can't make your way out of it. And they're not willing to negotiate, do what you have to do. But just remember, you're going to have 10 years of catching yourself. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to need favors. Because nobody want to give you any money after that. Late payments, 7 years. You make late payments on something for 7 years, there's a record there. So it's not just random. I don't feel like paying them, Well, somebody mightn't feel like giving you a loan. Pay people their money. 7 years. Charge-offs. 7 years. Now, I know sometimes you think, well, hey, the company doesn't want it anymore. They wrote it off. Because a company wrote off your loan and gave it to a collections company doesn't mean you still don't owe the money. They just don't want it anymore. They're tired. So they just took pennies on the dollar and give it to the collection company. Now the collection company wants it. 7 years. It doesn't mean you got away. It's 7 years. Hard inquiries, of course, we said 2. Collections. If something goes to collections for 180 days after it gets the collections, your 7 years haven't started. After the 180 days, then 7 years. If you go to collections. So thinking, well, it's gone to collections, I'm good. Well, no. You still owe the money. It just never disappears like that. They're going to get you. You understand what I'm saying? That's just how it works. Bankruptcy, 10. Maybe 7 for Chapter 13. Maybe. They treat both types of bankruptcy the same, but you may get 7 for Chapter 13. A tax lien, 7. You didn't pay taxes, call the IRS, get on a payment plan. You can't just not pay it. You know, I'm just not going to pick up my phone because that debt collector. Okay, don't pick up your phone. They'll report it, and it's going to be there for 7 years. Judgment. If you lose a lawsuit, 7 years. Somebody say 7 years.
7 years.
So just don't lose lawsuits. If you can help it. It's never good to lose a lawsuit. So it's important to note that repairing bad credit is a bit like losing weight. It takes time, and there is no quick way to fix a credit score. So if you listen to the radio, especially radio that's targeting the urban audience, they like to sell, fix your credit score, quick. You're about to get hustled. Because if the Fair Isaac company, which created the FICO score, says you cannot do it, and they made it, you can't. It's just not going to happen instantly. There's things you can do that have impact. But don't think you can just fix your credit. And that's why people get ripped off. And they always like to focus on, lower income people in communities with minorities, etc. And they come with their razzle-dazzle and tell you they'll fix your credit real quick. Just give me $5,000, your credit will be fixed. You're going to have a 700 score. Yes, just not next week. So just in case, hey, I know you want to buy a house. Just give me, 5 easy payments of $300 and I'll get you the score that you want. Maybe not. So just be smart about it. Because they said it's not going to happen quickly. Everybody gets that? So based on what's in a FICO score, here are some things you can do specifically to impact specific portions of the FICO score. So we are going to do things that are specifically directed to percentages in the FICO score. Payment history. So the first thing you do, of course, to fix a payment history problem is to pay your bills on time. So you may have had a problem with paying bills up to now, but wherever you start paying on time. Because the day you start paying on time, your bad payments, you have 7 years from that day. So the last bad payment, 7 years before that disappears. So whenever you start paying on time, the clock starts ticking, 7 years to get that off your report. Everybody gets that? Then, if you miss payments, you want to get current. And you want to stay current. Because the longer you pay your bills on time after being late, the more your FICO score should increase. Everybody gets that? Then you want to be aware that paying off a collection account will not remove it from your credit report. It will stay on there for 7 years. So I know it's always a big celebration. I paid it off. Yes, but 7 years just started now. That it stays on your report. So even if somebody pays something off, yes, that's time to celebrate. But remember, it doesn't just disappear. It's going to be there for 7 years. It's a gift that keeps on giving for 7 years. Then here is something really important that people have to understand. If you have trouble making ends meet, you want to contact your creditors. or you see a legitimate credit counselor. Somebody say legitimate.